Connections thrive on faith. At least, that's what I used to assume. For years, I believed I shared that kind of bond with her. We communicated openly, or so I thought. But one seemingly typical afternoon, that illusion shattered in the most unforeseen manner. It was a Sunday, a day we usually spent side by side. But she mentioned she was catching up with a friend over coffee. I didn't dwell on it much. She had her own life, her own circle. I never wanted to be the possessive partner. "It's just Lena," she had said breezily before heading out. But as the hours slipped by, something felt off. Lena wasn't the kind to leave her phone inactive for long periods. Yet, every time I messaged her, there was no reply. I even tried calling once, just to check in, straight to voicemail. I told myself I was overthinking it. Still, that nagging voice in the back of my head wouldn't let it go. Around 4 p.m., I decided to go for a walk to ease my thoughts. There's a quaint little cafe near our apartment, one we often visited during lazy weekends. I headed there for a breather and maybe a latte. That's when I saw her. She was nestled in a corner booth by the window, laughing at something the man across from her had just said. They looked relaxed, too relaxed. Her hand rested lightly on the table, and his fingers hovered close, nearly brushing hers. For a second, I froze. I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe it really was a friend. Maybe it wasn't what it appeared to be. But then I saw the way she gazed at him, leaning forward, her eyes lit with a sparkle I hadn't seen in ages. And that smile, it wasn't the kind you offered just anyone. I walked in, my heart thudding. She didn't notice me at first, too absorbed in whatever he was saying. But as I neared the table, her expression shifted. The laughter ceased. She looked up at me, startled, almost irritated. "Hey," I said, my tone low but unwavering. "What's happening here?" The guy looked from her to me, visibly uncomfortable. He seemed like he wanted to vanish. She, on the other hand, didn't miss a beat. "What are you doing here?" she snapped. "I could ask you the same." I answered, motioning to the table. "You told me you were with Lena." She shrugged like it was no big deal. "Plans changed." "And you didn't think to let me know?" I asked. Her eyes darted from him back to me. I didn't think I had to. "It's just coffee." I glanced at the man again. He avoided eye contact. "Who is he?" I asked. Before she could respond, he mumbled, "I should probably go," and started collecting his stuff. "No, stay," I said, my irritation rising. "I want to know who you are." "He's a friend," she replied quickly, defensively. "Really?" I shot back. "Because this doesn't seem like just friends." And then she did it. She smiled. Not a regretful smile. Not an awkward one. No. It was a patronizing smirk, the kind that said I was a ridiculous one. "You're being dramatic," she said, leaning back in her seat. Dramatic. That word lit a fire in my chest. Dramatic? I echoed, my voice rising. "I catch you here, lie about who you're with, and I'm the dramatic one?" She rolled her eyes like I was a child throwing a tantrum. "It's coffee, okay? You're blowing this out of proportion." But it wasn't just coffee. It was the secrecy, the dishonesty, the way she looked at him, like I was invisible. "Is this the first time?" I asked more quietly now. Her smug look faltered, just briefly, enough to confirm what I already feared. "That's none of your business," she said coldly. That was it. It felt like my chest had been split open, but I refused to let her diminish me anymore. "You're right," I said, taking a step back. "It's not my business anymore." Her eyes widened a little. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm done," I said, turning to leave. "You're seriously walking away because of this?" She called out behind me. I paused at the door and looked back one last time. "No," I said, "I'm walking away because you don't respect me. And I'm not staying with someone who doesn't value honesty or loyalty." She didn't come after me, didn't apologize. She just sat there, staring, with that same maddening grin. The days that followed were some of the toughest of my life. I kept revisiting that moment in my mind, wondering if I'd made the right call, if I should have fought harder. But the truth? She'd already made her decision long before I entered that cafe. Leaving her wasn't simple, but it was essential. I deserve someone who sees my worth, someone who doesn't belittle my emotions or hide behind half-truths. And now, for the first time in what feels like forever, I think I'm finally walking toward that.